Welcome into this Monday afternoon. I know it's not normal to have a Monday afternoon show, but it's spring break. We've got people moving in different places. We've got the SEC tournament starting Wednesday in Nashville. So moving some things around, getting shows to you. Chase Parham, Brian Rippey, I got one to you late yesterday. I'm very fortunate to be joined by my good friend Chris Lee, southeastern16.com, also bandysports.com, right there in, I guess technically in Franklin, basically Nashville. Tournament coming to his place once again this weekend. It's where the tournament belongs. The tournament should stay in Nashville forever and ever and ever. It's a perfect fit. It just makes all the sense in the world. We'll talk SEC basketball. We'll talk some SEC baseball. Greg Sankey spoke today on the Paul Feinbaum show. Sort of par for the course. He'll do those kinds of shows this week as the league convenes in Nashville on the cusp of March Madness. He had some interesting things to say. We'll talk about those things and more. First, I'm going to tell you that we're brought to you always by BlueSky. If you're heading in or out of the state of Mississippi, make sure you stop by a BlueSky on your way, whether you're leaving for spring break, whether you're coming in for whatever reason, whether you're coming back from spring break. Make sure you fill up at a BlueSky. It's always great to fill up outside, and you can fill up inside. Plate, lunch, specials, ribs, everything you're looking for. Always clean, always convenient at BlueSky's all over the state of Mississippi. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662. Oh, my gosh, first time I've ever forgotten the number, 259. I've forgotten the Clark Ford number for a minute. It's been a minute since I did a podcast. I've had some stuff going on. I apologize profusely to Corey Clark. I'll get that squared away in a minute. I just had a brain fart, Chris. Clark Ford, give him a call, though. They'll give you a quote. 662-259-1700, I think. I've lost it. That's crazy. I'll have to find it. That's nuts. It's proof that we go live, Chris. I bet I haven't forgotten that number in 8 years and forgot it today. Yeah, it happens. Anyway, go to Clark Ford. Give Corey a Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. Corey and the people at Clark Ford, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call, 662-257-1900. See, it's not hard. Just had a moment. Chris Lee, all other guests join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. And with that, we go to the Campbell Clinic hotline. And Chris Lee. Chris, how are you?
Welcome. Always fun to join you. And if it's any consolation, there's kind of a few things going on right now. I might have to save that clip when I forget something and say, see, this is what March does to us in this business. We forget things that are obvious because there's probably one of those on the horizon for me.
Well, I have spent a good portion of the day working on an obituary, basically, for this Ole Miss basketball team. And so my mind has been on tracking back to when were the first signs of trouble? When did I see this potentially coming? How did they get it so wrong? How did it not work? And so my brain has been like rolling through those things, and I've been looking back at old games, and it's been so. And I'm getting old now, Chris. I'm a little feeble, you know.
I'm right there with you.
I hear noise in your house going crazy.
My dog is, losing his mind over something, which is a normal occurrence around here.
All right. I want to start with, we're going to get to basketball. We're going to get to baseball. SEC baseball in conference play begins on, I guess, maybe somebody starts Thursday, but everybody starts this weekend. We'll get to that in a little bit. First, I kind of want to start with some Greg Sankey quotes from today. Get your thoughts. He says, there's about the need for a legislative, this is Brandon Marcello with the tweet. Brandon quoting Greg Sankey on the Paul Feinbaum show. Says, I don't think anyone on any campus, maybe there's one or two, wants the status quo to remain. In our league, by unanimous vote, we can't go on as we are. It's never going to be that it was the way that it was, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to get your thoughts in a second. I'm a big Greg Sankey proponent. I like him. I think he's been good for the league. I think he's good for college athletics, etc. But that is too vague. I hear someone say that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means
the way that it is. What does that even mean? You're going to have to dive in. Maybe he did. I didn't hear the interview. But you're going to have to drill down on that a little bit and explain to me, what do you mean the way that it is? Because no one in the SEC appears to be struggling. No one appears to be starving. The league's just raking in money, hand over fist. I don't really think he's talking about on the field of competition. I'm sure he's talking about the transfer portal. There's a big story in ESPN today about tampering. It kind of uses the Dabo Swinney, Pete Golding conflict as a launching pad to really dive into tampering. It's well done. But it's established at this point that everyone tampers. When you hear those quotes, what do you think he's even talking about, Chris?
It just feels like Groundhog Day. I mean, we've had this same conversation for how many years now?
6, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a conversation that just kind of crescendos a little bit. It builds and builds and builds, and it changes a little bit. But it feels like we're talking about the same thing since sometime in 2021.
I mean, maybe I'm being a little unfair here, but where's the leadership? I mean, these are university presidents of major universities. We keep trying to throw this off on Congress or a president or somebody to fit. I'm like, that's, and I get the motivation, but like, you're asking the most incompetent people in the country of any significance to do it. That's what we want? I don't think so. I don't know. You and Tyler Siskey do a really good podcast, and I don't know the ins and outs of how it works. And by the way, I do agree with a lot of your premise. There's a lot of things that are great. The cash is coming. There's also the things that we talk about constantly. You talk about them on the air. We had a conversation about it before the show. That are nightmares logistically for coaches to manage and administrators. And so we can sit here and say, well, the cash flow is great and the ratings are whatever, but that doesn't mean there aren't problems. And I don't think that I don't think you buy peace of mind in life with the big check all the time either. So,
and to that point, Rick Pitino said just recently this was the least enjoyable season of his career.
Yeah.
I talked to a coach, not an Ole Miss coach, actually not even an SEC coach. I know for whatever reason, I kind of know more basketball coaches than I know any other subset of coaches in the country, and I know a few. And one responded to something I said with, "This was the most challenging year of my career." Challenging. And I was like, what do you mean? And he didn't really dive into details. He just kind of gave a couple of anecdotes. I'm assuming we were pretty much off the record, so I'm not going to specify anything, but not one that's apt to typically be super negative.
Mm-hmm.
And just challenging. You've got agents involved at all times. And unlike in true professional leagues, the agents aren't exactly scrupulous. They aren't really held to standards. Like if you're an agent for a bunch of NFL players or Major League Baseball players or NBA players or NHL players, there's rules. And there's ways to get into some gray areas, but you got to be careful. You can't just go violate rules. You'll lose clients. You'll lose licenses. Clubs won't deal with you. You don't have that in college. There's no rules. It's the one thing that always strikes me about current college sports is there are no rules. So along those lines, Greg Sankey said again to Paul Feinbaum today, says people are tired of talking about NIL. They're tired of talking about lawsuits. what they want is, in a way, what the president spoke of, referring to President Trump. I want to go back to when we focused on the fields, the tracks, the swimming pools, about the competition. We need national standards to achieve that objective. Along those lines, came out today. It's highly unlikely an executive order is coming from the White House this week. He was even asked by Feinbaum about the idea of breaking away, conference breakaway. He says, I don't think that's the right decision. Mine has been, you know what, we have relationships and responsibilities with Division I. He did go on to say that there was enough frustration in the league, enough frustration in the league that's not completely out of the question. That there are enough members in the league are frustrated enough to do that, according to what Ross Dellinger's interpretation of what Greg Sankey said. In January, SEC leaders expressed to Yahoo, who Ross works for, that they want SEC-only governance that eventually may lead to SEC-only competition. I mean, it's always been the nuclear threat, right? That the SEC and the Big Ten just take their ball and go form their own league, have their own basketball tournament, their own everything, and just play each other and turn it into a mini NFL.
Well, I mean, I don't really understand why we're still doing this one-size-fits-all thing. It just feels to me like you need maybe a commissioner for the Power Four leagues, something like that. I feel like, for football, and to do the same thing for basketball and women's basketball and baseball. I mean, that might be a start. I also just always kind of wondered, and maybe this is Pollyannish, but like if Neal, if you and I have a disagreement, okay, and we're, legal terms involved, contracts, whatever. The idea that like we just pass this off into the ether to get solved, or to, take it to the president or whatever, like whatever happened to just sitting down and saying, okay, look, I hold this view, you hold this view, we have goals, we have aspirations, we have all the things that we have, and I need this and you need this, so let's sit down and work it out. Like, and I guess some people would say, and I know some people would say, that like the House settlement was supposed to sort of accomplish that it was some type of representation. There it's in stone. We've got your revenue share. It's this, it's that. But at the same time, you're coming out of that going, okay, wait a minute. Now, revenue share for the typical SEC basketball roster is $2.7 million. These kids made this money amount last year. You're sitting here and telling me that's where it's going to stop. I mean, that's where the NCAA was foolish, because we all know it's not. And that's why you still have NIL. But whatever happened to just representation and sitting down, and maybe part of it is what I outlined, like you've got so many entities here. Like you could say that football is its own entity. Well, within that, you could say, well, D3 is its own thing. D2 is its own thing. The FBS is its own thing, but it's really like two things, because you got Group of Five and Power Five. And I don't know how many times you could do that for every sport, but it seems like you could at least start with football and say, hey, let's get something together. Let's get representation from all the Power Five, schools. Everybody sends a player rep or whatever, and let's hammer something out. And then when we get it hammered out, we're going to stick to the rules. No more of this thing where you
nailed it.
You backdoor NIL money and you do whatever, and then everybody throws their hands up and goes, gosh, I don't know what we're going to do. No, come on, man. These are supposed to be leaders of major universities. They make 7-figure salaries. And I like Greg Sankey too, but he's making a lot of money. I just don't, maybe there's something legally. I wish we had an attorney or Tyler or somebody here, but I just keep watching this and going, what is it that we're waiting for? Like, why don't you get the people involved and sit down and look, when you roll through a stop sign, in a new agreement, the NFL and the NBA don't have issues with this, really. I mean, when there's tampering, you lose draft picks, you lose stuff.
Yep,
let's make it real.
Yep.
I just don't understand how we're to this point where we're just going, well, I don't know what to do.
It's what's mind-boggling to me about it. Really, it's why I'm a little frustrated with Sankey today. And again, I didn't hear the whole interview. Maybe he answered these things later, and if he did, I apologize. But, but you know, I told an SEC official earlier last week. I said, there is a model to follow. You have a model to follow. In football, you have a NFL. In basketball, you have the NBA. They both have labor agreements that are binding, that have rules. They have caps that were agreed to, that were negotiated, and that will be renegotiated when the current deals expire. You see that in Major League Baseball right now. They're about to go through probably a bloody labor negotiation, but they will come on the other side of that negotiation. They will come to terms, and not everybody will be happy with those terms, but those will be terms, and those terms will be binding, and those will be the rules that govern the sport. And you have a governing body that oversees things. If the commissioner of the NFL issues a fine, you pay it. If the commissioner of the NFL deems that you've broken the rules and you lose a second-round draft choice or a fifth-round draft choice, by God, as pissed off as you might be, you don't get that pick. There's a punishment system. The college, to me, the college thing is really simple. I think this is twofold. And we've officially spent more time on this, Chris, than I intended to. I apologize. I think it's twofold. One, there's a fear, in my opinion, among college people to acknowledge that this is professional sports.
Yeah.
And then I think there is a distrust among each other that once they establish some rules, that anyone will actually follow them. Because in the history of college sports, no one's followed the damn rules.
Well, and some of that is their fault. I mean, you've probably had conversations with NCAA people at some point. I have, and it's just like what planet are you guys living on?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's not. We put a man on the moon before either of us were born, I believe, and we're still here 6 years into this. What gives?
I don't understand it. I really don't. I do think, though, that my first premise is right. And I've run this by some people, and they all look at me like I've got a cobra coming out of my ear. But I'm like, you guys just don't want to acknowledge that you're pros. It's like there's a fear that, hey, because there's a part of the people that cheer for Ole Miss or Vanderbilt or Tennessee or whoever, right, that they cheer for it because they went to school there.
Yeah.
The place means something to them. There's a part of their soul that belongs on that campus, right? That they cheer for these players and stuff, and then it's different than cheering for the Cowboys or the Titans or the Steelers in their mind. If you take that away, and now it's just, well, we're in your city, well, we're the Commodores, they're the Titans, we're both pros, they're better pros. Why should you come to watch this when you could go watch that?
Well, and look, first of all, let's hit the end you just left with. Like we're the same age, and like when we grew up, there was something cool about you turn on a baseball game.
Because you have hair, by the way, it's just totally
well. I don't know.
Ridiculous disparity.
It's let's call it what it is. It was my mom. She had good genes. God rest her soul. She passed last fall, and I didn't think that would. I thought mom would live to 100, but yeah. Well, thank you. Time comes for all of us, but when we were kids, okay, you could turn on a Reds Dodgers game, and you're like, okay, shortstop for the Reds is going to be Dave Concepcion. Absolutely. For the Dodgers, it's going to be
Bill Russell.
First baseman for the Dodgers is going to be Steve Garvey. And like that infield was Say and Lopes and him and
Ron Say, Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, and Bill Russell.
And they platooned a catcher, Steve Yeager.
Yeah, they had Dusty Baker, Rick Monday. I guess later on Pedro Guerrero, but you sort of knew who their people were. Like as a kid, I mean, I can remember I grew up in Louisiana, and there were people in my neighborhood who all pretended to be the Red Sox. They knew all the Red Sox, George Scott and Jim Rice and Carl Yastrzemski, and it was just a different day.
And there was something about that I liked, okay? And I think there's, we had senior day this year. And what was the thing? There were like 20-something players that across the country. Somebody told me that like only 20-something players that walked for senior day. In the SEC, it was one.
One.
I mean, that feels like a little bit too much to me. I was talking today. I have Tim Thompson on, who's great basketball mind. He'll call a lot of games at the tournament. He's Vandy's color commentator. He played at Vanderbilt. Just terrific guy to talk to. And we're talking about a couple of freshmen that had played well. And we're like, well, we're sitting here thinking, okay, Vanderbilt's got a pretty decent start next year with Chandler Bing and Jaden Leverett, two freshmen that showed. And then it's like, but who knows? They may be back. They may not be back. There was something that I liked about that I think we're missing. I like the portal and everything, but I mean, I covered a kid, and I think we talked about this before the Vanderbilt game when you were here. Frankie Collins last year was at TCU, his third school in 4 years. He played 9 games. I think he had a legitimate injury. 9 games, I think, was the maximum you could play with their schedule and get a medical red shirt. So he did that. He hopped in the portal and came to Vandy. Guess how many games Frankie Collins played this year, Neal?
9.
9 games. Frankie Collins is no longer with the team. There's some other stuff going on, but like that's and he, I think, legitimately had a knee injury, but I'm sitting there going, okay, Frankie Collins is sitting here. He's, the timeline for meniscus was 4 to 6 weeks. 8 weeks later, he's not playing. There's no sign of him playing. Byington's having to talk around it. He's frustrated. And I look over in the other corner, and there's Tyler Tanner playing through the flu, and scoring 30 points at Missouri. He sat out shoot around. They have Tennessee here on Saturday. That was a Wednesday. He tests positive for the flu on Friday, plays Saturday. They lose to Tennessee by a couple points, and Tanner's out there just busting it. And I'm like, one of these things is not like the other. But so, look, a little bit of our baseball discussion was idealistic, but you also go back. There were times I'm tempted to feel a little sorry for the NCAA because, yes, it is out of control. They appear clueless to know what to do about it. But, like, they're the one that created student athlete, that term back in the 50s. And I think you probably know why they did it. They did it so they wouldn't pay workers' comp.
Yep.
And, and so when you remember that, it's like, and look at how much money these administrators are making. To sit here and throw up their hands and say, "Oh, I don't know what to do about it." At least the guys that you're paying money are providing some value. Some of these people, you tell me what the value is they're providing, because they're not making a lot of decisions or solid arguments on which you can build something and get this organized.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes I think they actually should include some media people who've watched this for years on some of their committees to walk in and go. I loved Ross's lead to his story in Yahoo when he talked about, technically you can get the toothpaste in the tube. Like there's a tutorial on YouTube where it shows you how to do it, but it involves staples and all sorts of things. It's probably makes it where at the end, yes, the toothpaste is back in the tube, but you really don't want to brush your teeth with it. And I thought it was clever on his part. All right, we're going to switch to basketball in a moment. SEC awards released today. The tournament begins Wednesday in Nashville, Ole Miss, and Texas. Wednesday at 6. I know everyone's dying to watch that one. Rebels just need 5 wins in 5 days to get to the NCAA tournament. They did need to beat Texas, Georgia, Alabama, probably Arkansas at that point, and then maybe Florida. That's it. Pull it off. Head to the tournament as probably 11 seed, 12 seed at that point. Hey, Ole Miss had a great portal season. You can too. Do you have an old IRA or 401k with a former employer? That money, is it stuck with a bad team, not living up to its full potential? Put that account in the transfer portal. Let a fellow Rebel professionally manage it for you. Andrew Seago, Seago Wealth Management, will build a playoff caliber portfolio just for you. Book a quick discovery call today at rebelsretire.com or 901-482-2676. Maybe you need tax savings strategies or retirement income planning. That's what they do every day. So give them a call. 901-482-2676 or book a discovery call online at rebelsretire.com. I'll have a mailbag to you on Wednesday, either in written form or in podcast form. It's brought to you by Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty. Are you thinking of making a move? Put the power of Sotheby's to work for you. As a licensed agent with Sotheby's and a supporter of all things Ole Miss, Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously, so call and ask him how. 612-805-5929 or email art at arthur.hayes@lakesmn.com. It's getting a little warmer outside. You want to make sure that AC is ready to go when the heat comes, because it is absolutely coming. I suggest getting in touch with Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great people, products, and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, South Haven, those areas, call Southern, 662-429-4429. And we're presented by ENT Physicians of North Mississippi as the largest ENT practice in the state. Their goal is simple: delivering fast, expert, comprehensive care for patients of all ages with ENT, allergy, sinus, dizziness, balance, and voice-related needs, with same-day or next-day appointments with ENT urgent care for that annoying cough or sore throat, in-office CT scans, and same-day allergy testing, and access to their comprehensive audiology team, offering a full range of services from hearing aids and custom hearing protection to potential surgical options. ENT Physicians of North Mississippi are committing to removing barriers to care. They now have new locations in New Albany and Starkville, in addition to Tupelo, Corinth, and more. You can get more details at entnorthmississippi.com or call 662-844-6513. March is a big wedding month, so lots of engagements out there, things of that nature. Get in touch with our friends at Arnett Fine Jewelry, fourth-generation jeweler located in the old Lamons building on North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They offer all sorts of jewelry repair, in addition to diamond engagement rings, wedding bands, stackable diamonds, genuine stone bands, everything you could want for gifts, whether it's anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, whatever the case may be. They've got you covered at Arnett's. At Arnett's, they want to be your jeweler. All right, Chris, SEC basketball regular season wrapped up on Saturday. The tournament begins Wednesday, as I've said a couple of times. All the awards came out today. I'll run through those if you're interested. First team All SEC is Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas, Jacoby Gillespie from Tennessee, Thomas Howell. Is it Howe or Houck?
I've heard both.
Yeah, we'll call him Howell. From Florida, LeBaron Fallon Jr. from Alabama, and Tyler Tanner, who Chris was just talking about, from Vanderbilt. Man, I love Tyler Tanner's game. So good.
Yeah.
Second team, Nate Ament, the freshman from Tennessee, Ruben Chinilu from Florida, Mark Mitchell from Missouri, another grossly underrated player in the league, Otega Owe from Kentucky, and Dalen Swain, Ole Miss will see on Wednesday, from Texas. The third team is Rashawn Agee from Texas A&M, Alex Condon from Florida, Keyshawn Hall from Auburn, Aiden Holloway from Alabama, Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State. The all-defensive team is Chinilu, Samto Cyril from Georgia, Felix Okpara from Tennessee, Billy Richmond III from Arkansas, another player who really came on late, had a really strong season, probably made a lot of money in the NBA, and then Tyler Tanner, again from Vanderbilt. The all-freshman team, Darius Acuff Jr., Amari Allen from Alabama, Nate Ament, who we mentioned earlier, Malachi Moreno from Kentucky, and Acuff's Arkansas teammate Malik Thomas. The coach of the year, Todd Golden from Florida. The player of the year, I was a little surprised by this, Chris, Darius Acuff Jr. The scholar athlete of the year is Ruben Chinilu from Florida. The newcomer of the year, Dalen Swain from Texas. The freshman of the year, Darius Acuff Jr. The sixth man of the year, Urban Clavzar from Florida. And the defensive player of the year is also Ruben Chinilu. So a big day for Ruben Chinilu, and an even bigger day for Darius Acuff Jr., the immensely talented freshman guard from Arkansas, yet another in the John Calipari line of probably future multimillionaire NBA point guards. He had a fantastic season. I didn't have a ballot. You may have. I would have voted for Howell, but I have no issue with Acuff winning.
I get it. I mean, the point guard is probably your most important player. When the ball was in his hand, I mean, Arkansas was a little bit up and down at times,
Yeah.
and he just controlled games. Tommy Howell could do the same thing, but like he had more help than anybody.
Yeah.
So, and especially their size underneath, that just opens up so many things. And not that Arkansas didn't have athletes and guys that could score and do stuff too, and they had one underneath in Brazil. But yeah, I mean, you could have gone there. I think if Tyler Tanner had stayed healthier, he'd have been in that conversation. I mean, he had to carry so much of the load for them and won games almost by himself some nights, or kept them in games when they lost.
I watched him win one by himself a week ago.
Yeah, he was something.
Yeah, I love his game. I thought the league was better than it got credit for this year. I think there was because of a year ago, 14 teams got bids. That realistically wasn't going to happen again. And so when you had some teams fall off, Ole Miss fell off, Mississippi State fell off, South Carolina was bad again, LSU was bad again. I think that there's 4 right there, so that knocks you down to 12. And then Texas started kind of slowly. And then we didn't get the dominant November from Florida or Tennessee or Alabama or Arkansas. And there began this narrative that, well, the league's not good. And I think going into the tournament, the league's still really good. I think Florida's got a chance to repeat. And then I don't know about you, but I think there are multiple teams that have positioned themselves where they could make legitimate runs in the tournament as long as the draw isn't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, let's start here. The bar got set in an impossible place last year. And the conference didn't bank as many great wins as it did, December and November a year ago. And then Florida started off, Florida was, 5-5 at some point or whatever it was. I don't know if it was that bad, but Florida, like every close game it played in out of conference, it lost.
Yeah.
And so you're just sitting there going, okay, it's not going to be. And then it kind of snuck up on us. Now, I don't know that, I guess the thing was, a year ago, you're thinking, okay, Auburn could get the right draw and win a title. Florida could do it. Arkansas could catch fire. Any number of teams, Kentucky, Tennessee could have caught fire and gone to the Final Four. And most of the year we're going, okay, well, who's the Final Four team in this bunch? Well, there wasn't one for a while until Florida really just started breaking everybody's necks. And then you're like, oh, okay. Now people are saying that team's better than last year's team. But like Alabama's, I guess, gotten healthier. And I don't know if Alabama can defend, but man, it's got a ton of parts and they're going to be a problem to play. Maybe it comes back down to earth a little bit when the timeouts are longer, but they're a handful to guard. Mm-hmm. Arkansas's got so much talent. It's got a point guard who can win games by itself. I don't think Vandy's going to a Final Four, but Vandy could win a couple games the way Tanner plays with Miles, the way he's back and playing. Tennessee, the way it defends, and a guy like Nate Ament who can, take over a game for spells. I mean, there's some teams out here. Missouri's kind of old and big. I mean, there's a lot of teams that you could see winning a couple of games.
Yeah, and if you win a couple of games, I've told this story before. Last year at the SEC tournament on Thursday, Ole Miss beat Arkansas in the final minute. Padula hit a 3. And it was a really highly competitive seesaw game. And I remember walking off the floor and someone on the Ole Miss staff said, those looked like 2 Sweet 16 teams. And they both were. And both of those teams ended up losing in the Sweet 16, but by the skin of their teeth, right? They could have easily, either one of those teams gone to the Elite Eight. The other 2 teams that fell off this year that I failed to mention, Oklahoma, Auburn. We'll talk about them in a minute because they both kind of go into the weekend I think Oklahoma's in better shape than Auburn, but maybe the metrics disagree. So I think Florida is obviously a title contender. You know, it was a Saturday night not long ago. They played Arkansas in Gainesville and just beat the hell out of them. And there was some stuff on social media about, boy, Arkansas got exposed or whatever. And I thought to myself, I didn't see that. I just saw Florida dominate. And when Florida plays like that, if Florida plays like that with that incredibly gifted, deep front court of theirs, and then you get Howell, and then you get some other players who they don't make a lot of mistakes. They play defense on a string. They move the basketball. When they play like that, they're a very difficult out. So I view Florida as along with Duke and maybe Michigan, maybe Arizona. Those are the teams. I mean, I think those are teams that have legitimate chances to win a title.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned Michigan. I think they might be in there too. But I mean, Florida. I mean, here's the thing: Florida's 313th in 3-point shooting, and nobody in the league can come within 10 points of them right now. I mean, and imagine what happens if they hit a few shots, which they've had flashes. Their point guard Xavier Lee just really struggled off the jump, and finally started to shoot a little bit in the league. I mean, Boogie Flynn is not going to remind anybody of, Steph Curry, but he's talented.
He'll do.
I mean, and I'm just thinking, like, if they just shoot the three a little bit, and that's where Tommy Howell can help them too, then I mean, they're scary as it is.
And then I'm with you. So to me, there's 3 other teams, maybe 4, because I like Vanderbilt more than most people. Some of it is I just like watching Tanner play.
Yeah.
But they're a little up and down, so it sort of depends on which Vanderbilt you get, right? Like I watched them a game that they damn near lost to Ole Miss, and they turn around and beat Tennessee. They're a little bit more volatile in terms of their variance. I love Alabama. I actually think the stuff in the middle of the year made them a little nastier. I actually think they play with the chip on their shoulder that they didn't have before all of that went down. Oates can kind of get that little snarl going on the sideline, and sometimes that his team gets that going, and they've impressed me of late. And then I thought Arkansas going to Missouri on senior night, beating Mizzou without Darius Acuff Jr., without Carter Knox, with DJ Wagner running the point, getting a big bucket out of Brazil in the overtime. I thought for them that was a real confidence building win. And it might move them up a seed line. And they're a team that, unless you've got a dominant front court, their team's going to give you fits.
Yeah, and I mean, typical Cal style, right? They basically play 6 guys and go to overtime and win the game without their point guard. And you've got to have some fortune there. Although I guess they had, Pringle fouled out in 17 minutes. I didn't notice that till now.
Yeah.
So basically, you've got 5 guys playing almost the whole time without a breather against a Missouri team that's physical.
Who's the freshman?
Malik Thomas?
Sealy?
Malik.
Well,
Isaiah Sealy. Sealy was the other kid that played 4 minutes. Yeah, okay.
He had to come in and play some big minutes. Malik Thomas, the other freshman, was terrific for them in that game. He carried them. And so, Richmond's had a big year. To me, they're just right behind Alabama if you told me another SEC team made a run, that might be the direction I'd go. I just don't like Tennessee for some reason. They don't do enough. They still struggle to score. I know Kentucky's played better of late. I just don't trust them. I don't know why. Maybe you do. You can talk me into it. Yeah. And then after that, it's just it's sort of dependent on like some teams getting a good draw or something. I like Georgia. A&M's fallen off. Texas is fine. but they're not. There's nothing about Texas that wows you. You don't watch them play and go, man, that's a team that could really make a run. So I don't know. I mean, there's a handful of teams that could win a game in the league, but I mean in the tournament. But the ones that, to me, there's one that is destined for the Final Four, barring an upset, and then there's three that I think could make really deep runs.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing it the same. I see three teams that, like, if you're saying, okay, who's going to make the Final Four? There's three teams that stand out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would put that Florida, Alabama, Arkansas in that order. If you told me that upset, I'd go, oh my God, Vanderbilt got the right draw and did it.
Yeah.
And then
or Barnes finally did it. Ament had a Carmelo Anthony tournament, and they get there finally, but
they can bang with you, and they've got some veterans and Ament's so gifted.
Yeah.
But he's not as assertive as a young player as, say, Acuff.
But he started to be late in the year at times, though.
He did.
So
yeah. After that, I don't. There's nobody that I would be floored if you told me that A&M or Texas or Georgia made a Elite Eight run. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, back to the big three. The problem with two of them is you've got that how much defense do you have to play to advance question on Arkansas and Alabama. If you're going outside that group, I mean, I think Vanderbilt is pretty solid on both sides. They don't need to run into I'm not sure there's another one, but a Florida type team with a lot of bigs that can get you in foul trouble. And if Vanderbilt wins this tournament in Nashville, which I don't think it will, but like if Vanderbilt comes out of that, having knocked out probably Tennessee and Florida, then look out, because those are two of the nightmarish matchups. Vanderbilt might have found another gear in that case. I don't think it's going to happen, but if you want two that I'm going, okay, who else could do this here? Texas, I like a lot of the parts. I think the Vokatitis kid inside is kind of a nightmare sometimes around the rim to shoot against. And like they've got good players. Tremont Mark has played forever. Jordan Pope's a senior. Dalen Swain had a really good year for them. Kendall Weaver can really defend. I mean, they have some parts there. And Sean Miller is coached a few of these games too. I mean, every year there's a team that gets an 11 or 12 and ends up in an Elite Eight. And I mean, if you're going to say who is it from the SEC that does it, I can tell you how Texas could be that team.
So the two things I would watch for with Alabama and Arkansas, with Alabama, it's just one bad shooting half from three could bury them. And for Arkansas, it's the officials. They could get the wrong kind of officiating crew. They get in foul trouble. You get a ticky-tack crew, they're in trouble. You get a crew that lets them play where they don't get in foul trouble. They can out-athlete damn near anyone. And then I just think Florida has to beat itself. I think Florida goes to the Final Four unless it has one of those nightmare days where you just play terrible basketball. I think they have to go out and beat themselves. I really do. I think they're that good.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have one other thing there, they're not a great foul shooting team. They're 71%. You get in the wrong matchup with the wrong guys at the line. That's your other path. But I mean, man, they're just such a handful. I mean, it feels like watching when we were kids where basketball was more inside oriented and you had, you'd start a couple of 6'11" guys. I mean, that's just kind of been a throwback, the way they play in some ways. And the way basketball's played, you just don't run into that as much.
They're not sexy. People don't like Golden, let's be serious. And so, that no one really is for them. And so I think they go sort of underappreciated. But they're relentless on the boards. They get lots of second chance offense. They don't give up a lot of second chance of defensively, I should say. I mean, they don't shoot the three ball great. You're right. They're not the best free throw shooting team in the world. They're not pretty offensively, but by God, they just suffocate you.
Yeah, and if you want to play other side of the coin for a minute, their guards are not nearly as good as last year. I know we talked about Flynn. Xavier Lee has really had a better year than I thought he would. I was not impressed with him coming into conference play. And maybe he just figured out, hey, all I got to do is be the guy that can hit an occasional three because we've got these other dudes. But I mean, Clayton and that bunch last year, now they didn't have as much in the front court, I guess, because I think Ken Logden was out. He's a nice piece for them. But I mean, I do think that I love their guards a lot more last year than I do this year.
What do you think happened with Ole Miss? So team,
I watched them. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Going into the season, this was internally. I mean, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus because I've got some people that get mad at me about things that I said. It's fair. It's fine. I get it. The optimism was coming from inside the building.
Yeah.
It's the part that sometimes fans don't hear when they're listening to reporters talk. I mean, I wasn't making it up. I didn't go to practice.
Yeah.
People around that team inside that building were really high on this team. They thought they were talented. They thought Elias Cameron was going to be an all-SEC caliber player. They thought Malik Dia was going to have a special season. They thought A.J. Storr would be a point machine. I think they thought they had addressed a lot of their defensive and rebounding issues with James Scott from Louisville. I think they thought Travis Perry was going to be a guy who would get a lot of open looks and would knock them down. And then, they were excited about Patton Pinkins, and Eduardo Klafke played a role on that team a year ago that went to the Sweet 16 and figured to play a bigger role this time around. And most of the things that I just described did not come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, you watched them play. I mean, we sat and watched the Vanderbilt game together, and Storr and Dia down the stretch, nearly took the game over and won it for them. I mean, you could see some of the pieces, but I thought they had an elite point guard last year in Padula. Nothing against Camerdine, but he wasn't the same guy. And I think the Perry thing, that's what I watched. You throw a Tyler Nickel for Vanderbilt, although he's been slumping lately. You throw a 6'8" wing shooter who can knock it down at 40+ and hit 7 or 8 of those on a given night. You throw that guy on this team, we may be talking about Ole Miss as having a different year where we're going, okay, Ole Miss is going to be in the tournament. What's the seeding? And I guess they thought Perry was at part. I mean, from what I heard, Perry was committed to Vanderbilt and had visited out of high school. And I thought, okay, he fits the system at Vanderbilt pretty well. And so, I heard Ole Miss paid a hefty penny for him.
Yeah, I think they did.
A very large amount, shockingly large from what I have heard. I mean, and who knows? I mean, it's like trying to verify UFO sightings. NIL numbers are, but that to me was you throw that piece on the team and maybe it looks a lot different. But when you don't have it, everyone else kind of gets bogged down, especially if your point guard is not the guy that I thought Padula was just a great player and so much fun to watch. And I think that may have been, just you throw him on this team and maybe it looks different too, but that's not how it worked.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, an astute point, because this team won a lot of close games a year ago with Padula. Yeah. Like the Arkansas game I just mentioned, Oklahoma at home, where he just carried them down the stretch. This year, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I'm working on it. I think it's 4-14 in games that were still up for grabs at the 4-minute timeout. I mean, 4-14?
Yeah.
They're not getting blown out. That's why earlier in the year, people were mad at me that I wouldn't say this team sucked. And I was like, well, teams that suck just get blown out all the time.
Well, I mean,
they don't get blown out. They just lose.
Again, you and I sat there and watched them shoulder to shoulder in Nashville, and Vanderbilt kind of ran away with that game early, and Ole Miss wasn't hitting anything, and Vanderbilt was not clicking on all cylinders yet because Miles wasn't back. But, in that building, they can be tough to beat, and,
sure.
Especially if you have another guy. And Ole Miss didn't – what was we were tracking some absurd stat. They didn't have an assist in the first half.
Something like they had fewer assists. It was, I can't remember.
It was something weird. It was something you don't see very much. Yeah.
And then you looked up with 5 minutes left, and I think at one point Ole Miss had the lead.
Yeah. I mean, it was a one possession game in the end.
Yeah. And, and then they played Vanderbilt the same way in Oxford. The game goes to what, 2 overtimes?
Yeah.
That's nip and tuck. But when you lose lots of games late, it's not just a fluke.
Yeah.
There's something there, right, that prevents you from winning those games. In the same way that when you go 14-4 in games like that, is there some luck involved? Absolutely. Is it all luck? No. There's something that you have in your DNA that gets you to win those games. And there's something that you have that you lack in your DNA when you go 4-14 that gets you to lose those games.
Yeah, well, I'm looking this up because I want to remember it the way it happened and see if I can find the score, which I'm not at the moment. But I watched that game, and Ole Miss jumped out, I believe, to a double-digit lead pretty early in that one.
In Oxford? Yes.
Yeah, in Oxford. And I'm thinking, I still think Vanderbilt's going to win the game because I just thought, if this were Alabama or someone like that, instead of the lead being, I don't know if it was 15-4, you make up a number, and then add 10 points to that number, a team that could really shoot and score. Like Vanderbilt would have been almost dead and buried 10 minutes into the game. And I just thought, the fact that Vanderbilt's going to hit some shots at some point, and the fact that Ole Miss just couldn't run away with it, I just thought, I don't think these guys have got the firepower to do it, and I'm not seeing it. That to me, in the end, if you're going to point to one thing, I think it was that.
It's just such a weird team. I covered their game in Austin. They were down at one point, I think 15 points, 17 points. It felt like, hey, you guys ought to warm the bus up real quick because this is over. And then they come back and take a second half lead. And then they can't finish the game. They end the game on a Texas on like a 9-10-0 run to finish the game. And I walked out of there. I walked past someone associated with the Ole Miss program, and I said, I feel like I cover the same game every day.
Yeah.
It was like that. And I was going to say, the maddening part for them.
But you know what, though? And I know nobody's handing out participation trophies in the NIL era, but like the fact that they were in those games, I mean, I thought, what does Ole Miss have to play for when Vanderbilt comes in there a week ago? Really nothing.
Nothing.
And Vanderbilt's got a lot to play for. And like they were still energized enough out of the jump to come out and do what they did. So, I mean, to me, no, it wasn't the year that you wanted, but you still saw signs of belief and engagement. And I mean, that's kind of harder to do than it's ever been in some ways.
Yeah, it's why I think he's a really good coach. I mean, I think he gets guys to play. I think they made valuation mistakes and they made evaluation mistakes. And in this era, there was a great example given the other day, and I wish I could cite who said this because it was so right. A college football team gets about 2 hurried weeks in January to put a roster together, and it's like 70, 60 new guys, literally.
Yeah.
An NFL team has this massive scouting department that spends better part of 2 years evaluating a draft class, and they draft, somewhere between 5 and 8 guys a year. I mean, and they still make errors. Of course, college teams are going to make buku errors evaluating and valuating. And frankly, a lot of these guys, and I would think Chris Beard would probably admit this to you, that this wasn't a skill that he had accrued earlier in his career about, hey, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars or more is player X going to be worth to my team if my budget is approximately $10 million? Probably didn't do a whole lot of that at Texas Tech.
What is it that Tyler says? The portal is speed dating?
Yeah, I mean, the portal is speed dating, and you have to make super fast decisions. Like, if you want to do the dating analogy, you sit down with this one girl, and she's attractive, seems nice, the clock's running on you. You don't have a chance to go meet her family. You don't really get to know her. You have to kind of take a leap of faith, and she's putting her best foot forward here. Oh, and the buzzer's about to go off, and there's another girl waiting, but if you don't go ahead and close the deal right here, when by the time you circle around, some of these other cats in the room that are getting ready to sit down with this girl, they're going to take her out. You're not. She's not going to be there in an hour when you circle back for round 2, because you don't know whether she's looking for the first bite or not. You know what I'm saying?
Look at the guys who've left the game, Neal. I mean, Jay Wright, Tony Bennett. It's just
look at some of the
and like Bennett,
Dana Altman's team sucks.
Yeah, I just think by dumb luck you can catch a year like Ole Miss did. That's my stance. I don't think Chris Beard is a guy that leaves a lot of stones unturned, is he?
No, and I don't. I understand. Like, people want accountability, and I don't blame them. I mean, listen, it's the NIL era, like you said. It's more than just, hey, this team sucked. It's, hey, this team sucked with a budget that you shouldn't suck. It's reality.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think he can lean on, hey, basically shit happens. I don't think you can. That won't work. But I do think you have to be careful not to overreact to 1 year of it. But look, let's face it. I mean, in this era, coming off of 4-14, and I mean, they're not going to the postseason. You don't. There will be some pressure on next year to be better, to prove that you learned the lessons. And I if you made me bet on or against Chris Beard, I would bet on him, no question.
Yeah.
But I am fascinated to hear what he says once this is done, once the final whistle's blown and they've been eliminated this week in Nashville. And like, what does he say? Like, what does he?
Yeah.
What does he point to? What does he think when he's? And I know there's a tendency. Hey, we don't throw players under the bus, but these are pro players, man.
It's appropriate for some of them.
Before we leave basketball and get to baseball, any scenario for Auburn or Oklahoma getting to the tournament this week, other than winning?
It's funny. Auburn, the latest bracketology that Lunardi had was the last team in. You go to bracket matrix, it's the first team out. So I guess Auburn is on the bubble as much as a team could be. I mean, obviously you lose to Mississippi State and it takes care of itself. I mean, feels to me like the problem is the bubble just completely collapsed this weekend. Like, nobody on the bubble won, apparently. Like the 9 teams are all there, all lost from what I have heard. I'm just going to trust. I think that was Jeff Goodman's podcast. I'm not sure. I'll just take his word for it, whoever it was. You did that, but then you got to get Tennessee, I would think. So maybe you win 2 and you get in. I mean, for all the things that didn't go well for them, and 15 losses is ugly, and they're looking at 16 unless they win the tournament. They made a point that they did beat Florida. Not a lot of teams did that, especially in this part of the calendar year. And gosh, I'm missing a couple others. But some of the losses were ugly at the same time. Not just teams, but like you go back and 30 points to Michigan, 29 to Arizona, 28 to Purdue. I don't know, man. That sticks with you too.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Stephen Pearl at Auburn in a year where they don't make the tournament going into year 2. I know he's got a deal and all that stuff, but I'm a big Bruce Pearl guy, and Bruce basically admitted that he left in a way that left Auburn with no choice but to hire his son.
Yeah.
If I were him, I'd damn sure make the tournament next year.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, they have expectations there. I mean, it's the most maybe energetic arena in the conference. I mean,
yeah,
at a time where there wasn't else a lot. I mean, I never thought Auburn would be a basketball school. Not just that, but like people show up and get excited and talk about it. He's a little bit of a victim of his dad's work, but victim's not the right word. He's getting paid very well to do this, but it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, because had Bruce walked away a year ago after the Final Four, the list of coaches that Auburn could have at least gotten to answer the phone is a long one.
Yeah. Oh, I would have to think so.
Hey, we're brought to you by the College Corner. Got Got more than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gear in Oxford. So don't fight the traffic on the square, Jackson Avenue. Stop by their new location at the Oxford Commons right off of Sisk. And get everything you're looking for, all the brands you know and love, Nike, Horn Legend, Champion, Antigua, just to name a few. Also, collegecornerstore.com. If you're sitting around this week, maybe this weekend, watching baseball, basketball, it's always a great time to open a Coors Banquet. It's been brewed in the same tradition of the original 150-year-old recipe. It's crafted with 100% Rocky Mountain water. So when you are enjoying a Coors Banquet, you are drinking history. We're also brought to you by Argent Wealth. They're based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. At Argent, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Argent will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. It's myargentwealth.com. Brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. It's spring break time, which means summer vacation right around the corner. If you want to plan one that creates a lifetime of unique memories, get in touch with John. Give him a budget. Give him some parameters, and then sit back. Let him give you options you probably won't find on your own. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. And get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com. All right, Chris, last few minutes, turn to baseball. I get started with SEC play later this week. It's interesting. LSU lost 2 out of 3 to Sacramento State. Arkansas just lost the last 2 of a 4-game set to Stetson. Arkansas lost 5 games all of last season at home. They've already lost 5 this year. LSU doesn't look like that kind of team. I know I was talking to our mutual friend Joey Dwyer in Oxford when he was getting ready for Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had just lost another non-con game that day. Is the league down? Is the league not as good as we thought it was going to be, or is this just a shifting sands of college baseball in this world of NIL?
Probably the latter. I mean, I thought last year, man, I thought the league was loaded a year ago. I thought if there's a year that the league gets 6 teams to Omaha, this is it, and it got 2. So, yeah, I'm not. I think if you play that again, it looks differently. But yeah, I mean, the midweek losses and some of these series losses have started to pile up a little bit lately. But the league pretty much aced the other tests before that. One thing, I mean, you got Texas that's undefeated. I don't know that Texas has played a lot of teams that it's going to see the rest of the way, but it looks dominant. And I think just kind of a theme across the league, Neal, it felt like we were getting to that point where like if a guy went 6 innings in a start, that felt like a, feat worthy of a trophy. It's just been the case at baseball. And now you're seeing a lot of teams are getting their second and third starter getting into the 6th and 7th innings and pitching well. Again, who is it against? It's against Monmouth or Coppin State a lot of times. And so I don't know how long that lasts, but there is a depth of starting pitching to me in this league that's very, very interesting.
Any of the initial weekend series stand out to you? I know your focus is going to be primarily on basketball this week. Tennessee's at Georgia. Alabama at Kentucky. South Carolina goes to Florida. Mississippi State, who's looked pretty impressive at times and shaky at times, heads to Arkansas. Auburn goes to Vanderbilt. LSU is in Nashville to play
Vandy.
Yeah, I said Auburn is Vanderbilt.
Auburn's got Missouri.
Missouri. I was reading the wrong line. Texas A&M goes to Oklahoma. Ole Miss heads to Texas. And I think that's got them. Yeah, it's got them wrapped up. Any of those stand out as ones that you're really keeping an eye on for some early results?
I mean, I think they're all interesting in some way. I think Arkansas, Mississippi State is fascinating. State is just hitting the cover off the ball and has got pretty good pitching. Arkansas is having hitting troubles,
Yeah.
but man, their top half dozen arms or so are as good as anybody's. And so, good pitching can defeat good hitting. That's going to be an interesting one. And that also is that's at Arkansas, which, as you noted, has had some trouble winning at home.
Yeah.
That'll be a dandy. I think Georgia's been statistically dominant, but hasn't played a lot of good teams. Georgia's already hit 61 home runs, but the pitching is better this year. They get a Tennessee team that struggled a little bit, but can really pitch. So that'll be interesting. LSU and Vandy, both are not off to the start they wanted. So somebody's got to win that one. Vanderbilt's having a lot of trouble throwing strikes. LSU in some spots is too. And the lineup just kind of gone in the deep freeze for LSU lately. So that'll be interesting. I think Ole Miss at Texas, poor Rebels. They troll that one off the bat. But Ole Miss, in the first two spots can really pitch. And Texas, even though it's undefeated, started to show a few cracks in the pitching last week. So that's interesting. And I think A&M at Oklahoma is interesting too. A&M is really, really playing well. I think is a very good team pitching and hitting wise. Oklahoma has probably won as many games against good teams as anybody in the league.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if the pitching can hold up. The starting pitching's been great. So I think a lot of these are super interesting.
Yeah, I do too. The Ole Miss one's interesting because Townsend's been so good on Saturday.
Yeah.
Elliott's been solid, but he's had some shaky moments as a Friday starter. And then Libert's been good for them on Sundays, really, in that role. As long as you can protect your bullpen arms and give him some support, you have a chance to win a lot of Sunday games. That's an interesting series. If I'm Ole Miss, I'm kind of glad I'm starting that one. I mean, I know everybody wants to go to Missouri and get 3 wins. I get it, but sometimes you kind of want to find out, hey, what are we? And when you've played nothing but non-con, and they lost to Baylor, they lost to Coastal Carolina, beat Ohio State in the tournament in Houston, but this is when you start to really find out what you are or aren't and what your weaknesses might be, and it's the first of 10 weekends where you get tested more weekends than not.
Yeah, and to be fair to Ole Miss, I mean, I think Nevada was favored to win its league. Missouri State's a pretty competent baseball program. Evansville's been good at times. Yeah. I mean, there may be a little bit more. Nobody's going to say at the end of the year, "Oh, we beat Missouri State." Let's bang our chest about that. But it's better than playing Coppin State. So I think Ole Miss has seen a little bit more resistance. I think the Townsend angle is pretty interesting because his start is a lot like the way Liam Doyle started last year, where he's just striking out everything in sight and not giving up any runs. I don't know if it's quite that spectacular, but that's interesting. And Elliott's a guy that's old, and I think sitting out the time he did, I have to think he just sat on the bench and watched and really learned how to pitch, and that's helping him now. I know the peripherals aren't always great, but I mean, if there's a guy in college baseball that knows how to pitch, it's him. He just doesn't give you a lot to swing at. He will miss the corner and he'll make you chase it. He might walk you, but he'll bear down on the next guy or he'll pick you off. I think when you start with those two guys off the jump, you've got a shot against anyone.
Hey, I kept you a long time. I really appreciate your time today. How can people follow your work?
Yeah, of course, the Vandy stuff is at Vandy247.com. But I think more of your audience is here for the SEC coverage. We cover baseball, basketball, football year round at the channel. I'm mostly doing baseball right now. And my co-host is a guy that your audience will know. It's Graham Doty, who does a lot of the ESPN stuff for Ole Miss. It's become a good friend. So we do recaps on Friday nights and Sunday nights of games in the weekend. We'll probably go all 3 days. Once the season's in, we do power rankings on Monday, and then we do predictions of weekend series on Thursday. I'm sure we'll have more stuff coming as the season goes, but we'd like to say we're the place. If you want to get a 30,000-foot view of football, baseball, basketball in the league, check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Chris, really appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you this weekend in Nashville. I guess well, I might not see you because you probably won't be at the arena until later in the week. So I don't know.
No, I'll actually be there for all of them. So
okay,
I picked up some national writing for this one too. So I'll run into you for sure.
Okay, good. Maybe I'll see you as early as tomorrow. That's Chris Lee. That wraps it up for us on this edition of Blue Sky Live. I'll be talking to Jeffrey Wright on Tuesday morning. I'll get that to you in at a minimum in podcast form later in the day on Tuesday. So until then, have a great week. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.